So within the past 5 years, I've noticed that the word content or the concept of content in relation to entertainment media like movies, music, TV shows, on streaming, definitely YouTube videos, even books, and 100% without a doubt, social media content, photos, videos, short videos, reels, TikToks, whatever. The word content, the concept of content has now snuck its way and become part of our everyday vocabulary. Where it was once reserved for like a blog post to increase your website's SEO, content for your website, etc. Now everything, it feels like everything that used to be artistic is now considered content. Movies are considered content, TV shows, even books are considered content, even music is considered content. The word content has snuck into our daily vocabulary and cheapened art, even like a painting, because of AI has bastardized the concept of art so much. Even art is considered content. From my personal experience here on YouTube, and this is nothing negative, but I've noticed this enough that it's worth mentioning. Every once in a while, I would get a comment. It's a good comment, you know, it's not like a mean comment, it's a good comment. I love your content. Obviously, as I said, it's nothing negative. It always gives me pause when I see the word content. It's like, that's interesting. I love your content, not like I love your videos or I like your videos. It's content. It makes me step back and think, you know, here on YouTube, the video creators, now they're called content creators, the creators would talk so much about content or the algorithm that even the consumers, even the viewers are very well versed. It's like we all underwent the university of content. So not only are the video creators very much obsessed with the concept of the algorithm, how to please the algorithm, like the video I put out didn't please the algorithm, or hopefully the algorithm gods will be kind to me. Phrases like that. People on YouTube have mentioned the algorithm so much that even viewers talk about the algorithm as if it's a person. Every once in a while somebody will come in, the algorithm sent me here. If it's a positive comment, they're like, thank God the algorithm sent me here. I thank the algorithm for sending me here. Or if it's a mean comment, why did the algorithm send me here? I just find it so weird that we're all talking about the algorithm as if it's a real person, as if it's something like this gigantic gluttonous beast we need to feed all the time. You know, we need to feed and appease. This is what we're going to talk about, how we got here. My name is Teresa. I suppose I'm a content creator. I don't really consider this content. I consider this a little crazy, but I don't consider it content. I consider it art. Stop it. Stop it. I know you're rolling your eyes. Like, what kind of art, Teresa? What kind of art are you doing on YouTube? It's the art of the monologue, okay? It's the art of the unscripted monologue. I'm trying to perfect the art of talking. It takes a lot of something, all right, to talk this much, this long, and for some of you to listen to me all the way through. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being a patron of my art. And it also is kind of like the art of crazy, because if you strip down the title of like content creator or YouTube, like I'm YouTubing, in reality, I'm just a crazy person talking in my bedroom, and I happen to film myself doing it, and then I upload it every other week. My feeding of the algorithm is on like a very strict diet here. It's on like a Weight Watchers diet. And then some of you watch it, and some of you like it, and some of you don't like it. So that's essentially what I do here. What a great resume. That's essentially what I do here on YouTube. The jury's still out on my sanity here, but I suppose this is content. This video will be content complaining about the concept of content. My name is Teresa. This is how content destroyed the artists and art in general. Since we're on the topic of art, I don't know how many of you like to go to modern art museums, but I do. Modern art is not for everybody, but you see, like, for instance, a painting of a circle, just a circle, or an exhibition. Like, one artist has like an entire exhibition of circles, or they like to, I don't know, they duct tape a urinal into the corner and it's art. Let's just say there's an artist and they have an entire exhibition. The painting is just one circle, one red circle or one black circle, etc. And you're like, how did this person become famous for this? And how did they get an entire exhibit dedicated to them? What makes them so special? I could do that too. The answer is that they did it. And you did it. They were crazy enough to draw a circle 1,000,000 times and try to sell that circle. And then they sold that circle. And then somebody's like, hot damn, that circle speaks to me. I'm gonna pay $100,000 for this painting of a circle. And by law of supply and demand, there's a lot of demand for this artist's circle. All his circles are sold, and then he's like a multi-millionaire. And it's because he's crazy enough to do it. Of course, you could do it too, but are you crazy enough to do it? In that sense, a lot of you out there can talk more than I can. Like, a lot of you could probably talk me to the ground. I've known people that could talk a lot more. But are you crazy enough to film yourself doing it? And are you crazy enough to keep on filming yourself doing it for a number of years? Are you crazy enough to continue filming yourself doing it and uploading it despite nobody watching it, despite like 20 people watching it? Are you crazy enough to continue doing it over and over and over again until 1,000 people watch it, until like 100,000 people watch it? Like, anybody could draw a circle. Maybe you haven't mastered the diameter and the radius and the circumference of drawing a perfect circle, but anybody could draw a circle. But are you crazy enough to draw the circle 1,000,000 times despite people telling you you're crazy, stop drawing circles? And this artist drew so many circles and they just kept doing it through thick and thin. They waited tables, they did whatever they had to do. And then one day somebody's like, I've seen so many circles. This circle really speaks to me. That's what makes an artist. I don't like to call myself a YouTuber, even though I'm on YouTube. Once somebody in the comments called me a YouTuber, like, you YouTubers, blah, blah, blah. And it kind of made me cringe. In real life, other than a few close friends that know I'm a goofball anyways, I don't ever mention YouTube. It's something that I just want to keep a secret. They might find this channel and watch this. I guess it's the same with me. I uploaded video and it didn't even get 100 views. I was lucky to get like 50 views. That's demoralizing. Spent a month making this video and only got 50 views. I guess I could just quit, but then I just kept doing it and then it got even less views. And the next video got even fewer than 50 views. You would think the second video would get you more than 50 views. No. You know, it got 30 views, and the next video probably like 40 views. And then for like a number of 20 videos, maybe if you're lucky, 70 views. It's very demoralizing, but then you have to be crazy enough to continue doing it. What made this video only get 30 views versus this video getting 50 views? Let me change some stuff up, and then the next video you probably get like 70 views. And you're like, okay, I'm onto something here. I'm almost to 100 views, up and down and up and down. But you just have to be crazy enough to just continue doing it, just like the artist drawing his crazy circles over and over until somebody takes notice. That's how you make that sweet YouTube money of like $3 a day. You could buy this $10 IKEA lamp. Thanks, YouTube. As I said before, within the past 5 years, the word content has been become part of our vocabulary. So whereas if I was on YouTube 5 years ago, somebody would be like, I love your videos. But now it's like, I love your content. And like, I know it's the same meaning, but it's just, I've noticed the word videos, whatever art that you do, whether it's drawing something on Instagram, or, you know, like you're an artist account, or if you're like a writer or you write books, that's become content, and videos have definitely become content. For instance, somebody goes up to James Cameron, I love your content. I don't think James Cameron will take it well. It's just a very interesting phrase that somehow, instead of just saying videos, we have all now succumbed to calling everything content. Just somebody calling your stuff content is a little demoralizing, because I don't set out to create content. I set out to talk about stuff. Real talk. Hopefully to connect with people. Probably not a lot of people, but just some people. This channel was born out of loneliness. I just wanted to connect with some people. Any kind of human connection. Find my audience, my tribe, but not necessarily create content to feed an algorithm. And hopefully I've made like 5 friends. So I've reached somebody. I've reached like at least one of you. Tell me, did I reach anybody? I don't know, but it's demoralizing to hear that it's just content. The inspiration for this video came about because I had a conversation with a fellow writer friend. Now, for new viewers to this channel, I am a romantic comedy, indie published romantic comedy writer. It's a mouthful. I'm not going to get into the whole backstory of it. Prior to starting YouTube, I was going full bore writing and publishing rapidly romantic comedy novels. Now, that's not to say that I wrote these novels rapidly. I am prolific, but I'm not a machine. I can comfortably write a book within 1 year. Preferably, it would take me a year and a half. Preferably, I like 2 years, but 1 year. Working full speed, I could write it within 1 year because I do like to have the ideas marinate a little, and I like to just write it and sit on it and let it marinate. Love that word, marinate. I love to let things marinate, then you could see your mistakes and you could fix them or you could rewrite stuff. I wrote a romantic comedy series, 4-book series. Every book took like a year to write. When I went full bore publishing them, the Amazon algorithm, just much like the YouTube algorithm, much like many social media algorithms, even though it's not social media, it's a hungry beast and it must be fed. It must be fed every 3 months. Every 3 months, okay? So I wrote these books within the span of a book a year. It takes me a year to write a book, like 4 years, but I had to publish them every 3 months. Then afterwards, I don't have any more books to publish. I was just basically like on borrowed time here. Everybody like at that time is like, if you want to be successful at this, 1 book every 3 months. And then there are some authors, I don't know how they do it. They're like machines. It's a book every month. On Amazon, there's something called the 30-day cliff. Within the first 30 days of your book's release, that is when the algorithm will push your books the most. So you want to maximize that 30-day window, because after that 30 days, then your sales will drop off noticeably. So whatever you have to do within those 30 days, whatever marketing campaigns you need to do within those 30 days, like whatever you need to do, you need to push that book the hardest, or else after 30 days, it's over. If it doesn't have a huge push and it doesn't like stick on the algorithm, like the algorithm doesn't like it, then it'll just done, nothing. Spent 4 years writing these books, writing them in between work, after work. So 4 years of work, of blood, sweat, and tears. I basically had to blow my wad within 1 year. And I was thinking like, how can I sustain this as I'm doing whatever I can to market these books as they're coming out? And you have to market them every 3 months. You have to write another book. You have to make sure that you catch it within, you publish another book in another 3 months and another 3 months. And honestly, I can push myself to write a little faster, but I can only comfortably write a book, 1 book a year. Otherwise, if I rush it too much, then I will not be happy with the book. Like I like to let things marinate. Sometimes ideas need to marinate in order to be good. By the way, this is not just writing a book too. This is writing the book and revising the book and editing the book and hiring an editor for the book. You're meeting timelines with your contractors, cover art, doing the cover art of the book. At some point I did my own cover art, so there was that too, learning how to do the cover art for the book. Before that, it was like hiring to do cover art for the book. It's a big production. You have to do this every 3 months, okay? While writing another book. And then also while you're writing another book, think about the next book. So, okay, I have like a 1 year runway with these 4 books that I wrote within 4 years. I had to blow my wad, excuse the language, excuse the metaphor, within 1 year. Meanwhile, produce the book, market the book, all within a 3-month timeline, write another book while keeping my mind on the idea for another book, because you have to catch the algorithm every 3 months. I did that up until 2022 or so. And by the way, the 4-book series that I like banked everything on, it flopped. It flopped hard. I was demoralized. But then I published yet another series, a 3-book series that I wrote within a year. They're shorter books. And that series flopped. They're like a little bit quirky, a little hard to sell, like kind of off market. After 7 titles that flopped, many people would just give up. That's where the crazy artist comes in. Like when I talk about a modern artist drawing circles over and over again. Now whenever I talk about craft, there's always somebody that comes in that has a tone of a school marm.
Well, if you do the same thing over and over again, man, that is the definition of crazy. One has got to improve.
That's what I meant. That's what I mean. You are truly insane if you do the same action over and over again and expect a different result. To extend the metaphor of an artist drawing a circle, I am not drawing the same circle over and over again. Like at my core, I'm drawing a circle, but I am improving upon the circle. I'm drawing the circle a little differently each time, learning from my mistake with the previous circle. I'm trying to make the circle more round, or I'm making the circle oblong, or maybe I've decided that the circle needs to look like a square with round edges. So in relation to my books, each successive book is a learning process, and each successive book improves and builds upon the last book. What did I do right? Let's do more of that. What did I do wrong? Let's not do that anymore. For those of us that take things literally, and there's a lot of people that take things literally, I am not writing the same book over and over again. But in the end, having 7 titles that flopped, I finally hit upon a title that didn't flop. You know, it didn't shoot up into the stratosphere or something and bring me like 4th wing levels of success in the scheme of the battered bodies of my former titles and the wreckage of many past failures. This one did okay. You know, just trying to be humble. At this point, I was so tired, so burned out. I couldn't even enjoy it. I couldn't even reap the fruits of my effort. I couldn't even enjoy success. You've worked yourself so hard into the ground, and all your past failures have like just basically beaten and battered you to the point where you have pushed yourself to the edge of a cliff. It's up to you at this point whether or not you want to preserve whatever energy and sanity that you have left by taking a few steps back, or you can push yourself even farther and plunge off the cliff. Once you've plunged off the cliff, it's going to take you twice as long, maybe 10 times as long to climb your way back up, as there's no wheelchair accessible path going up the cliff again. You basically have to clog your way back up from rock bottom. At this point, this is what has happened to me. You know, I found myself at the edge of this cliff, the eve of my tiny victory, of the eve of like a book that actually did well. I finally climbed to a point where I have a taste of success, but the taste is bitter. The success is bitter because I've grinded so hard. I feel so tired. And it's not as if you can sit there and bask in your success, because once you are successful, you have to grind even harder beforehand in order to even make a splash with the audience, or let's be honest here, with the algorithm that therein introduce your works to the audience. In order to even make a splash with the algorithm, you have to feed the algorithm like a feast before it even takes notice of you. When it takes notice of you, your audience will take notice of you. You'll reap the rewards of feeding the algorithm a feast. But by the time you fed it a feast, you've used up all the supplies in your pantry. You have like nothing left to go buy more supplies, and it demands an even bigger feast. Now there's people that actually care about what you write, then they're gonna want more of it. Not only were you working fast before, now that you're on the road to success, you have to write even faster. You have to grind even faster. In order to make a splash with the algorithm, you have to like give it all at first and kind of expect nothing in return. When you finally get somewhere, when you're finally put on the road to success, you've used up all your energy. So that's how I found myself on the eve of a small victory. I pushed myself to the point that I plunged to the rock bottom, and then I quit. After all these years of grinding and failing, I finally have a title that has made a splash. Readers want more, and I've used up all my energy. I'm beaten and battered and tired because I was basically on like a hamster wheel of content. When I write a title, a book, I consider it art, but to Amazon, it's content. To readers, it's probably content. So while I was in kind of like this 3-month turnaround pattern, publishing and writing this hamster wheel of content, of feeding the Amazon algorithm my books, I was thinking in the back of my mind, how in the hell am I going to sustain this in the future? I basically have a runway of 1 year because I wrote the books ahead of time. It honestly took me 1 year to write a book. So I need to speed it up. I need to be faster. I have to write faster. And I was able to push myself to write faster. But I was thinking in the back of my mind, this is crazy. This is like a breakneck, unsustainable pace. Sometime mid 2023, I'm not going to have any more books left to publish. And then the algorithm will be hungry, and the algorithm has not been fed, and the algorithm is insatiable. It needs more books. It needs more content. It's hard to say that a book that I put my blood, sweat, and tears in, that it's reduced to content. Like basically I found myself on a content hamster wheel. I have to keep on running, and the moment I stop, then the algorithm punishes you, or your other titles will not be promoted at all, and then nobody will know you exist. Now you've done a good job, and now there's more demand for your work. Speed it up. And I'm like, I'm already working at maximum capacity. How could I possibly speed it up? Like I was at a point where I basically felt like I had a lobotomy. I didn't want to write anything anymore. I couldn't even write a sentence anymore. I've been writing hundreds of millions of words, and now like I don't want to see any words. That's it. I was at the point where if I saw another book, I was going to scream. I just literally said, I quit. I was starting to get somewhere, and I just quit. That's it. I quit. I quit. I can't stand this anymore. You know, you guys ever wonder, you follow a YouTuber, for instance, they're grinding and they finally reach like 100,000 subscribers or 1 million subscribers, and then all of a sudden they just pieced out. They just quit. What happened to them? They just finally reached their goal of 100,000 subscribers, 1 million subscribers. They were posting every week, regularly every week, and then all of a sudden they just ghosted you. They disappear for like 6 months, and then they post again. Sorry, I'm back, guys. I understand that mentality completely. I sound a little stressed, and believe me, I'm stressed. But at that point, I was beyond stress. I was like catatonic. I couldn't even read anymore. Once upon a time, F that. F once upon a time. I can't even look at it anymore. This is the sad irony of it all, is that I love reading. I love writing. There's nothing I love more than like a great scene transition or prose that trips off your tongue like butter. There's nothing I love more than to traffic in words. But at that point, being on this content hamster wheel, somehow trying to appease the algorithm, I found myself hating what I used to love. It's taken something pure, and it's taken something I'm passionate about. It's made me despise it. I cannot even write my own name anymore. I don't want to write anything anymore. Ow, my neck. This brings me to the crux of this conversation that I had with my fellow author friend, who also published rapidly and also burned out as well. So having not published anything for the span of 1.5 years, going on 2 years. Basically, I've just tanked my career, my writing career at this point, but damn it, I needed a break. I was stressed. It sounds funny now, but it's actually not very funny. I'm laughing now, but like inside I'm crying. My fear is that having not produced anything, not published anything, you know, I'm still writing, not published anything within 1.5 to 2 years, what is going to happen with the algorithm? And would former readers even remember me? And I have this fear, and it's very real fear, and I'm not exaggerating or anything, that they won't. Like I have to start over from scratch because you didn't keep on running in the content hamster wheel. And it's very sad to me to think that like my books, which I consider my art, I put my heart and soul into it. Obviously, it didn't take me 3 months to write a book. I have to publish every 3 months. It took me a year or more. They're just content. They've been reduced to content, which saddens me even more because the only reason I want to write is because I want to write a book that somebody would read more than once. One of my favorite books, The Witch of Blackbird Pond, I've read about like 27 times. It's insanity at this point how many times I've read it. It's a book that I call my safety blanket book, in that I read it at an impressionable age of my life. And I used to have a lot of anxiety whenever summer ends and I have to go back to school. Whenever I go back to school, I would read the book. It calms me down. It calms down my anxiety. And I'm also revisiting with old friends. Like it brings me a lot of comfort. The motive of writing a book is that one day I could write a title, a book that could be beloved by somebody. They would read it until the spine is creased and the pages are falling out. But I don't know if I've accomplished that. Content is something that you consume once and you never revisit again. That is, unfortunately, I fear that's what my books have become. That's what my books and a lot of other people's books have become nowadays. Bear in mind, I didn't write that book for it to be content. I wrote that book with joy. I love that book. Even though I had to write it faster, it was brewing in the back of my mind years in advance. My dream is for a handful of people to read my book over and over again, to be their safety blanket comfort book. But I don't know if I've accomplished that. I don't know if like my books are just throwawayable. They're just consumable content. You read it once and then you forget about it, because that's what content is. There's no repeat watches of this Netflix movie. There's no repeat watches of a YouTube video. Definitely no repeat watches of a short. You consume it once, you forget about it, you discard it, and it never carves anything in your heart. Do any of the titles really stick with you after it's been buried upon all the other titles that you've consumed? Just the idea of realizing my books, which I consider art, to be content, it magnifies my loneliness and it makes me feel subhuman. Dehumanized. It dehumanized me. When I really step back to think about it, it makes me angry. Writing a book a year is very prolific. It is no small feat. Most people can't do it. And I was at the very beginning of my writing journey when I was a complete amateur, a novice. Like, it would be my dream to write a book a year. It would be my dream to write a book every 2 years. I feel like that is fast because of the world we live in now, because of the corporate culture. Faster, faster, faster. We've made that accomplishment very ordinary. We've taken what is actually very extraordinary, like being able to write a book a year, and we've made it ordinary. We've made it expected. Not only is it expected, it's considered slow. We need you to write a book every 3 months. We need you to write a book every month. Treating the artists like their content and then making the artists treat themselves like content. It used to be art, but because of the fast pace of production, it's now content, and content is never treasured. If the readers don't treasure it, the creators of it are so burned out that they just want to quit, then we've successfully paved the way for AI to take over our jobs as creatives. We've made ourselves replaceable. When I think about it, I've worked my butt off to provide content for AI to therefore mimic my voice and then take my job. That's depressing to think about. Okay, maybe you can publish with a traditional publisher. They respect prose and they respect the craft of the writer. But what's to stop them from vertical integration, generating book ideas and having AI write it, just like an editor fix it up? I have a friend that, like, prior to AI even being a thing, like some 8 years ago, she was with a publisher and the publisher came up with a book idea and they hired her to write the book idea, kind of like book packaging. It was a very blah book idea, by the way. So she wrote it and she felt like her soul died writing this book. It's really hard to force yourself to write a book that for an idea that you didn't come up with. What's to stop them from just cutting her out completely, cutting out her salary completely, and then just integrating AI to write their stupid idea? Get an intern to finesse chat GPT prompts, and then you do all the work marketing it or whatnot. And if it bombs, whatever. So that brings us to YouTube. So having plunged off a cliff from creative burnout from writing, I never wanted to write anything ever again. That's why I turned to YouTube, which is in my mind at the time, the complete opposite of writing books. Technically, I don't have to write anything. I do my research on a video topic, but I don't write a script. Hence the art of an unscripted monologue. In many ways, and this is the irony of it all, I traded one algorithm for another, and they're both insatiable, they're both hungry, and they're both unforgiving in their own ways. YouTube is everything I described with indie publishing, but just on a micro scale. It's faster pace, like we're not waiting 3 months in order to get a product out. Whereas in indie and Amazon, you have this 30-day cliff. If you don't prove yourself within 30 days, your book is done. On YouTube, that 30-day cliff is a 48-hour cliff. or at least that's from my experience, from my reading of the analytics. If a video doesn't do well within the first 24 to 48 hours, it will never do well. Overall, if the algorithm doesn't love it, then it's not going to show anybody the video, other than with the exception of dedicated fans, I guess, or dedicated viewers that specifically seek out more videos from you. To the general YouTube viewership, it is buried. It is done. It has a lifespan of 2 days. So, it's pretty brutal. I'm kind of ashamed to admit that it takes me between 2 weeks to a month per video. And that's me working full bore as hard as I am able. So I don't write a script, but I do extensive research and I have my bullet notes and everything. I pay for it in the edit. My videos roughly clock in around 20 minutes. 20 minutes is condensed down from 6 hours of footage of me talking. It really does take a lot of something to talk this much. It takes a lot of effort to look this cheap. And if a video flops, trust me, they're not all winners. They can't all be winners, Sometimes I hit it out of the ballpark with a thumbnail and title. Sometimes I completely flop with it. I think it's a good idea at the time. That should be engraved on my gravestone. It seems like a good idea at the time, but it was a concept that completely flopped. And the failure on here is more public. So, it's pretty brutal, but I think about it like this, in the scale of devastating failures, this is nothing. You don't know what failure is, guys, until you've spent 7 years of your life writing a book only to be rejected by your dream agent who never read it and sent you a form reply, a form rejection. You don't know what failure is unless you've spent 4 years of your life writing a 4-book series and the first book flops, which means everything in that series, they all depend upon the first book doing well, and they don't do well, and you just wasted 4 years of your life. That was like going through the gauntlets of beating. There's this episode in Xena Warrior Princess. This is the most random reference. She went through this gauntlet in which people beat her with clubs, kicked her and spat on her and stuff. And then she got up and then she spat at them. So by the time I arrive at YouTube, if a video flops, okay, so I wasted 2 weeks to a month of my life and a video flops. Whatever, it doesn't even hurt anymore. It feels like any kind of failure here is like a little mannequin foot kicking me in the crotch. And I don't even have balls because Amazon has castrated me. It's kind of like that one time at work, I ran into a filing cabinet, like the edge of filing cabinet. It was positioned specifically for my crotch. Ran into it and it hit me in the crotch and it didn't even hurt. It's like just annoying. I stopped writing in 2022, and for a whole year I didn't write a single thing, and then I realized I was miserable without writing, even though Amazon has made me kind of hate writing. At the same time, deep down, I still love writing. It's a very layered and intricate tale I weave. So at the end of the day, deep at my core, I'm still a writer. Like, even if I make no money, which I probably won't now that I've angered the algorithm. So at the end of the day, even if I were not being paid a king's ransom, I have to do it. I can't foresee a life in which I don't do it. It's how I make sense of life and the world and everything. And I've spent the majority of my life training to be a great writer, like training and learning the craft. And I'm not going to give that up. And I love writing. I love it when a beautiful sentence comes together. I love trafficking in words. I love playing with words. I love it when it all comes together and the story comes together. Ooh, it's the ultimate roller coaster ride. It's the ultimate adrenaline rush. Writing in many ways is torture, but when it all comes together, you forget why it was torture in the first place. It's like childbirth, I suppose. It hurts a lot, and then you have your cute little baby, assuming that you have a cute little baby. Some people have really ugly babies. I'm obviously not going to tell them that. I'm going to say to your face, your baby's really cute, but some people... What an analogy that is. With analogies like that, I don't know why I didn't become a bestseller. In a perfect world, not the world we're living in now, I'd be a reclusive writer and all I ever do is write. I'll have like a publisher. They will take care of advertising. Like a publisher in the past, they just print up some poster. I never want to go on any book tours. I'll just reclusively write my book and mysteriously FedEx it to them after 7 years or something. And they're like, oh, it's a new book from Teresa. I'll just have a very very mysterious photo, probably obscuring my face, just a paragraph or a sentence biography, and that's all you need to know about me. That's the world of the past. I can't be like Cormac McCarthy or something and be a reclusive writer. But the world we live in now, both indie published writers and traditionally published writers have to do social media. I have a friend, she's traditionally published. When I went indie and then she stayed traditional, she's like, it's because I don't want to deal with marketing. I don't want to deal with marketing. My publishers will help me market, and that's all I'm going to do. And I'm going to write my book. That's like my dream scenario here. But I knew that they're going to make you market anyways. So now she's reluctantly posting every single day because she has a book coming out and she's reluctantly posting every single day. In a perfect world, I would never be on social media, but this is the world we live in now. Sometime this year, I will have to reluctantly make some short form content, not to become some kind of TikTok influencer or some Instagram Reels influencer, if there is such a thing, mostly in service of promoting my new book. And then after a month or so, then I will just drop it. Maybe I will like it, but I doubt it. None of you will probably see it. I don't want you to see me reduced to this. Plan to like just lay my book out under a wash of sunlight, make a matcha latte, place it next to the book or something. I'll borrow my friend's cat. I don't have a cat, but I'm just gonna borrow my friend's cat, drape the cat over my book. I'm gonna take it to like the bougainvillea bush outside, and I'm gonna hold the book in front of a bougainvillea bush. Now you know all my secrets, you know my master plan. If you ever see some random disembodied hand in a TikTok posing her book in front of a bougainvillea bush, then you know that's me. And you know to hit the like button. The algorithm likes it when you like touch it. If you've enjoyed me, consider subscribing to my channel. And I'll see ya. You'll see me every week. No, not every week, not daily, not bi-weekly, every other week, except for holidays or bank holidays. Like for instance, if Christmas falls on my regular scheduled program of a Sunday, then you'll probably see me on a Monday. You know, we don't want to feed the algorithm too much. Don't you think it's already had enough? Because I've learned from past experience never to blow my wad all at once. I'm just gonna trickle it like a garden hose, you know, like a steady stream of art. I'm gonna trickle it slowly onto the algorithm's face.